So how do you know the difference between a false teacher and a true teacher?
How, Justin?
Well, we're actually going to talk about that in this episode.
Oh, that and more in the next 10.
Today's episode is brought to you by Logos. Learn more about the world's best Bible study software at logos.com/themove.
Welcome back to The Move.
I need that moment to gather
Hey, man.
myself.
Justin, welcome back to The Move. We're vibing with the text about 10 minutes at a time.
Hey, welcome to the move, dude.
Welcome to The Move. We're vibing with the book 10 minutes at a time.
The next 10 minutes, we're looking at John chapter 10, verses 1 to 21.
As always, we're going to ask you if you read it. If you haven't, it's in the comment section below. You can read it. And we're going to put 10 minutes on the clock. We're going to explore this. And we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. See, we got there.
There we did.
There it is.
This is, as of late, one of my favorite chapters of the Bible.
Oh, do tell.
Just the whole concept of being able to hear the good shepherd and being a sheep and knowing his voice and all these things. But oddly enough, it does happen to tie, as John is doing, to the previous chapter, the previous story.
Okay.
One of the questions that I left unsettled with last chapter was this idea of like, hey, signs and miracles are important. You'd be a fool to not trust or believe or at least give credence to someone who gives sight to the blind. You'd be a fool, like in the case of like someone like Lazarus, as we actually will come up in John chapter 11, to see someone raise the dead and not believe in them. And yet when we look at Matthew chapter 24, we see a caution against believing in signs and wonders.
Yeah, because in Matthew 24, Jesus is saying, hey, these antichrists will come. They'll have these signs and wonders that will deceive even the elect. So it seemed like, don't trust signs and wonders.
But he's performing all of these signs and wonders.
Look at my signs and wonders.
But don't trust signs and wonders.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
bro, you're living on two standards. Or at least that could be.
That's what it feels like.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And then yet here we see seated in between these two miraculous wonders, John chapter 10, this
Yeah.
idea of knowing the good shepherd.
Yeah.
And here's the difference that Jesus talks about. He says, truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man, that shepherd,
Yeah.
that person you would be looking to for authority and guidance in your life if you're one of these blind people that we saw in the previous chapter, those people are thieves and robbers.
Yeah.
Those aren't the ones that you want to follow.
Yeah.
And Jesus starts to position himself as the good shepherd against all the other shepherds that you could be going to in your life. And he basically says, listen, I'm a good shepherd because I lay my life down. I give. Every other shepherd in your life, every other teacher in your life, rather than giving of themselves, they take from you.
And you know what's really cool is that this is actually at the tail end of what he began all the way in John chapter 8, right? Because John chapter 10 doesn't actually begin a new story as much as it is the continuation of that which began all the way in 8. So it's still the Pharisees, they're still around. Jesus has performed, well, first, Jesus has expounded this idea of between light and dark,
I'm the light.
right?
Yep.
And he's positioned him and his father, contrast to them and their father.
Then he gives a great example of what it's like when he manifests himself in that some people see light and some people reject it and choose to stay in darkness.
Right. And now you have this man who is the evidence of God, of Jesus actually being the light of the world, because this man can literally see. So it's this, he can literally see, but by him literally seeing, Jesus is challenging the Pharisees for them to correctly see him. Right? So you got this meta thing going on. And then at the end of it, in John 9:35, Jesus hears that the man has been cast out. Maybe some of y'all noticed what's going on here in that passage that we left for y'all to look at, that he's cast out precisely because he has
Light.
light. That's heavy. That's heavy.
That's hard.
And then verse 36 of chapter 9, we're going into 10. He answered,
You've seen him.
yeah, when he asked him, do you believe in the Son of Man?
Who's that?
You've seen him. It is I who am speaking to you. Lord, I believe. He worships him. And then Jesus says, I came for judgment into the world, that those who do not see may see, and those who see may become blind. The Pharisees hear this, right? And they say, are you saying we're blind? Then Jesus begins, right? If you were blind, you would have no guilt. But now that you say we see, your guilt remains. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber, but he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. So it's this continuation, right? And that's heavy, that now he's concluding is, you don't know my voice.
Yeah.
And you didn't know it then.
Yeah.
Offer the sign and wonder. and you still don't know my voice.
That's what's crazy, is that you could have looked at one of two different methods. You could have just listened to his word and trusted. Or if you didn't want to do that, fine, he'll try and meet you even part way. I'm going to give you some signs and wonders so that you can believe, but you choose to reject the light and remain in your darkness.
And then he continues, you see verse 6, right? This figure of speech Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So he's still speaking to the Pharisees, and they still don't understand. Sign and wonder, evidence from the Torah, the prophetic trajectory of what the Tanakh has said, the Old Testament, is standing in front of them. He's speaking to them in agreement with what the word has said. Like, how much more can be done? How much more can be said? The conclusion is, you just don't know my voice.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Because if you were of me, you would know, because my sheep, they hear my voice and they know.
And then he doubles back down, verse 7. Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who come before me are thieves and robbers. The sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. Mm-hmm. One of the things that struck me about this passage, and I think it was recently, it was this year, is that I was talking about the passage and I just remarked, listen, you do not go into the sheepfold through Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. You come out into life through Jesus.
Yeah.
I used to hear it in a religious tone.
Come into my little pen, come into my religion, come into my denomination, even because we are the true sheep.
Yeah.
Jesus is actually calling the sheep out of whatever pastures or whatever groups that they might be into a pasture of life. Mm-hmm. I'm come that they might have life and have it abundantly.
And it's only through him.
And so it's not a call to a one specific church or one specific denomination. It's a call to himself.
To himself. Yeah. And that this is, you now see this contrasted with the gentleman who now sees, but he's actually been kicked out of.
Ooh, so in being kicked out of his religious tradition, he's actually entered the true fold.
Yeah, he's entered
the fold without walls.
Yeah. Through him, he has abundance and life, right? Mm-hmm. And this is, again, just this bright line, this clear dividing line of who are you with? You're either with me and my Father, or you're with you and your Father. And the only way to cross over is to actually receive me as the one who is bringing light into the world.
Yeah, this is challenging on many respects because, we, everyone watching, we treasure our history, we treasure our story, and we treasure our people and our tribe. And yet that's not the way that we approach Jesus. Mm-hmm. Jesus calls us out of those things and into him.
Yeah.
And that's the question, because you could be in the building and not know him. Mm-hmm. And that's not good enough. Mm-hmm. You actually have to have him. Mm-hmm.
And so something for me is just the idea that the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy, right? If we go back to the signs and wonders, if we just make that reference back to Matthew 24, like, how is it that somebody who's coming doing these signs and wonders that Jesus tells us not to put our trust in, how can we tell the difference that they're not Jesus? And how do you see somebody doing miraculous signs and wonders as being those who are coming to steal, kill, and destroy? Like, how does that play out? And you made a point about the ultimate thing is that the good shepherd doesn't do it for himself.
He gives it all away.
Right?
Yeah. It's this idea that you know them by their fruits. Like a good tree can only produce good fruits. This last week I got to do an interview on Mingle with a friend of mine who actually grew up in a North Korean cult.
Really?
And the whole idea was like everything that they lived was to service and to glorify this man on earth. Like he claimed to be the embodiment of Christ on earth. Is the kind of person that literally in like a lot of these eschatological seminars and revelation seminars that they would literally put his face on the screen and say, this is an example of what it is. And as he's telling me this story, it's like they all existed to magnify this man as opposed to Jesus.
So, okay. And in that, where is he at now?
Your friend? Dead. Oh, my friend? Well, he left the church because what he had seen was that the way that this man organized his church, in quotations, this cult, was that it was sucking, it was killing, destroying, and stealing life. So he rejected it. And sadly enough, he has not yet come to know the fullness of who Jesus is, but I believe that he's on that trajectory.
And then this Messiah figure, he's dead.
He's dead.
He's dead. No life.
No life.
No evidence of him popping up from the grave.
Nothing.
The group itself isn't abounding in a fruitfulness of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
No.
None of that. By your fruits you will know them. By the fruits you will know them, right? So that he actually came so that they might have life. And I feel like I'm finally starting to see what John is doing here, right? If you get all the way to the end of the book, John is like, I write these things down so that you might believe that he is the Messiah and that in him you might have life. And it seems as though, there it is, Jesus is actually doing that. He's like, I'm doing these things so that you might see that I'm the one that was written about and that you might believe in me so that you might have life. Get to know my voice, hear it, do what I say, abide in my word. You will know freedom. You will truly be able to see. And even though they kick you out of the synagogue, you will now be in green pastures, abounding in life. Yeah, that's good. All right, let's revisit some more of this in the next 10.
Hey movers, I recently got to travel to the Logos headquarters and ended up recording several tutorials on how you and I can get more from our Bible study using Logos. To see the entire playlist of videos, visit logos.com/themove and get 10% off any Logos 8 product you want. logos.com/themove.